Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Bukola Renuga, and I am the Executive Secretary of Bank Directors Association of Nigeria. I'd like to start by welcoming everyone to this webinar for personal and executive assistants of directors, and also extend the warm wishes of the President of Bidan's Council and Chairman of GT Bank PLC, Mrs. Osareti Demoren, who is unavoidably absent due to another meeting. Just to briefly explain, we have participants not only from Nigeria, but from East Africa. So permit me to welcome delegates according to the organizations represented here today. I'm just going to share my screen, and in no particular order, we have delegates from Polaris Bank Limited. We also have delegates from Lagos State College of Nursing, Sterling Bank PLC, Fidelity Bank PLC, Access Bank PLC, Bank of Africa PLC, FSDH Merchants Bank Limited, Rwanda Bankers Association, Banwan Igodalo Law Firm, First City Monument Bank, Bank Populaire du Rwanda, KCB Bank Rwanda, Owego Bank, SunTrust Bank Nigeria Limited, Heritage Bank Limited, Access Bank Rwanda, Financial Institutions Training Center, FITC, Development Bank of Rwanda, Koji Bank PLC, Bridge House College, Jais Bank PLC, GT Bank Rwanda, Wema Bank PLC, Eco Bank Nigeria Limited, Stanbic IBTC Bank, Furniture Manufacturers, and we also have delegates from religious organizations and non-governmental organizations. Good morning to all and welcome to this webinar. I would also like to use this opportunity to introduce our facilitator for today. Mr. Rotimi Eyitayo is a seasoned management consultant with core expertise in business development, process improvement, and management. He is popularly known as a rare content development strategist. He is a highly skilled trainer and learning facilitator with extensive knowledge and depth in research, analysis, training program designs, and development. With over 10 years experience within the training industry and consulting space, Rotimi Eyitayo has equally earned himself a pedigree and reputation of exceptional delivery in presentations and facilitations of training retreats, conferences, and brainstorming sessions. As a trainer and consultant, Rotimi Eyitayo has facilitated several corporate trainings, team bonding sessions, retreats, and strategy sessions for organizations both within and outside Nigeria. Rotimi Eyitayo has also authored several books and just published a magazine called Educators. He is currently the lead consultant and managing director of Team Masters Limited, a leading human development and business management firm which has been in existence since 2006 with a vision of creating and adding value to organizations and individuals. On behalf of the Governing Council of Bidan, I would like to welcome Mr. Rotimi Eyitayo. Mr. Eyitayo, over to you.
Buki, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining. And depending on your time zone, I believe right now this is morning where we are broadcasting from. And it's still right and in place to say good morning and probably good afternoon to all our participants today. And I count it a privilege to share with you all on this major important session. And the reason is because the session basically affects every one of us, especially for those of us that play the role of executive assistants and personal assistants. And what I would like to do is to, by way of engaging everyone, is to run through what I would call our session ground rules. And basically what we're trying to do is to ensure that it's a seamless session, it's something that you learn, and then of course you have fun while you do so. This session, hopefully, and all things being equal, is not designed to bore you, neither is it designed to heap content and just drop it on you. We're going to have an interactive session. So the first thing I'd like you to know is that please ensure that you're able to participate and you're able to connect with one another. And there will be room for you to ask questions. Please make sure you familiarize yourself with the chat bar on the control on the screen. And you could drop your questions, you could drop anything that you would like to say, because we're going to have, yes, question time, but also in between, we'll give rooms for people to share ideas or share their concerns or share if they have any question. And aside from that, I'd like us to also ensure that if you have notes or if you have your iPad or you have your device, handheld device, please make sure they come in handy at the point where we are making some statements that probably might not be too familiar. Please ensure that you jot them down. So I wouldn't waste much time. I will proceed to share my screen. And what I'll do is to share the screen with the slides, and then we'll take it from there. My session is going to be an interactive one, and I would also pause to ask questions. You might answer the questions through the chat, or sometimes just give me some reactions by the button on your screen. So if you look at the reaction button, you easily can, just say, for example, thumbs up. So let me just have this by a way of assessment. If you are following what I'm saying and you can hear me loud and clear, please, could you just give me a thumbs up so I know that we are all together right now as we speak. So if you could just share, just let us know. Thumbs up if you have any form of, yes, I like that. I'm seeing 1, 2, good, 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 awesome, awesome, awesome. Demola, thank you very much. Becky, thank you very much. Great to have you all here. So we will continue and then we'll start. So we all know the title of our session. And one of the things I like to say is that whenever you have a session like this, a session, a webinar, a training session like this, it is designed to be able to ensure that you are able to, get to be equipped, empowered, and informed so that you're able to do the things that is required of you. And one of the things that I will believe that we'll be doing is to look at things and then integrate it to our social reality as individuals working with principals or working with people we will use the word bosses or employers as the case may be. So let's just start. The new normal, transitioning into a virtual personal assistant or virtual executive assistant. That's the topic for the session. And we are going to be able to spend time to look at it in terms of in a sequential manner. And just like as I was introduced, my name is Rotimi Itayo, and I'm your facilitator for this session. I recognize that we have people across Africa, and I'd like to especially welcome our participants outside Nigeria for this session that we're having. So I represent an organization called Team Masters, and Team Masters basically is a management consulting firm that does different things with individuals, government, institutions, associations, and of course, groups as well. And our focus and our strength is centered around 3 major areas, while we use different interventions to drive those areas. The first thing is content development and management. The second thing is strategy management. And then, of course, the other one is growth management as well. So let me just hit it straight to the point. We'll be sharing with you the content broken down into step-by-step sequential thoughts. And as you can see on the screen, we will navigate around 4 major modules for this session. And the first module is going to be techniques for new normal. And basically, we're talking about the skills required for us getting into the new normal. We all know that the COVID-19 season is not just going to have impact on the season, but is also going to have impact beyond the season. And a lot of questions are being asked. A lot of people are feeling concerned. And one of the things that we will do in this session is to tackle the need or the skills required for the new normal in terms of the virtual assistants, as the case may be. We'll also look at tools that would help you as an individual who is a personal assistant or an executive assistant to get into the place of the new normal. And then, of course, we'll speak a little bit on the training and readiness for the new normal. And we will end the session with the actual step-by-step procedure to transitioning into the new normal. So we have the techniques for the new normal. We have the tools for the new normal. We have trainings for the new normal. And finally, we have the transitioning into the new normal. So let's start with the first part, which is talking about techniques for the new normal. Whenever you hear the word techniques, I'm sure something's coming to your mind. And like I said, I would like to ask questions so that it doesn't look like I'm just speaking to myself. So if there's anyone out there who would like to just share with me, in one word, when you hear the word techniques, what comes to your mind when you hear the word techniques? So we're talking about techniques for the new normal or for new normal. What comes to mind? You could just send it in the chat. Let's just see when we talk about techniques, what comes to mind. I would like to hear from you. Anyone? Techniques, what comes to mind? Okay, someone said that Becky said strategies. I love that. That's a powerful word. Techniques could be strategies. Yes, absolutely. Christiana said modalities or ways to a thing. Awesome, fantastic, fantastic. I love what I'm hearing. Becky also said method or process of doing something. We have Michael saying method. Vivian also has responded. Vivian is saying techniques to her in one word means skill. Then we have Umba. Umba is saying way and manner to do things. Perfect, awesome. I'm getting excited, yes. Damilola Mohammed is saying approach. Innocent is saying proven procedures. Come on, the adjectives are getting interesting. Uma is saying a skillful or efficient way of doing or achieving something. Awesome. And then, of course, yes. So we won't waste much time to do that. Let me just take two more responses. I'm excited about the response. Please keep it coming in. Christopher is saying skills and processes of doing things. Fantastic. And Tumbosu is also saying techniques simply put process of putting things, or simply put it, process of putting things. We are all correct. We are absolutely right about it. And which is why, like I said when I started, that the purpose of what we want to do is to ensure that we are all informed, we get equipped, we get our capacity improved upon to be able to deliver on the demands of the new normal. And just like we also have Ikaria saying method. You know, I like to say that we are all correct, absolutely correct, right? Absolutely correct, sorry. And one of the things that you realize is that if techniques means skill, if techniques means mode, then it simply means that a personal executive or a personal assistant or executive assistant simply plays a key role in the area of work and concern with its principal. And when I say principal, I'm not talking about just principal of a school. I'm talking about the principal, the organization or association. Your principal represents your employer, your boss, the one who you assist in the capacity of executive assistant or personal assistant. The role of a personal assistant and executive assistant is so sensitive, and that role can never be overemphasized. And that's the truth about it. And if I was to spend time with you all, where time will not fail me to be able to, ask you one after the other, to be able to ask and confirm how sensitive your role and your functions are. I'm sure you would agree with me that it takes a high deal of sensitivity to work with a director, or to work with a principal, or to work with a senior person or an employer in the capacity of executive assistant. And so this is where we need to set the rudiments, because if we set the foundations right, the tendency is that we are able to upskill, upgrade ourselves, not just in our work as a whole, but to the demands of going to a place of being virtual in nature. And of course, we all know that our job descriptions most times are set in place for us. But you see, with the virtual reality that we're stepping into, with the world of work and the way of work that is changing, there will be need for us to spend time to review, because every job description that is pegged to an executive assistant has actually changed. Why? Because the terrain of work, which I call the way of work, the world of work, even the why of work has changed, has evolved in its nature. So what will be required of you, in this reality is tied to the changes that we see. And see, when you look at changes, or when you look at the word change, so many things comes to mind, right? We need to understand that if we will upskill, if we will upgrade ourselves, we need to understand that there is a new thing coming ahead of us, which is the emergence of the new normal. I like to put it this way, and if you can see my screen, you could internalize the words that you can find on the screen, which simply says, industry change will always lead to organization change. I'd like you to pause and think about that. That whenever you have an industry change, it always translates, it always evolves into organization change. Can I flip this a bit? It simply means that when you have a sectoral change, an industrial change, it definitely means that the organization change would also affect the people. So people would also have to change. Why? Not because they plan to, not because they design to, but sometimes because they are compelled to and they are conditioned to. I repeat, changes in organization, changes in our work functions sometimes comes as a result of the fact that there's been an industry change. If I were to take your mind back a bit, especially for those of you who probably have been in the financial industry, or in the capacity of, you're able to understand what has happened. Many years ago, especially in time when we had the economic meltdown, that was in 2008, you realize 2008, 2009, we had a lot of people, who were talking about the financial crisis, global economic meltdown, and the likes. And we discovered that that same period led to a lot of automation of so many things, right? So many people ahead of the term cashless policy for the first time in the part of the world where we live in. And a lot of financial businesses and businesses in the financial sector began to evolve themselves in such a manner that they actually migrated and evolved in software, migrated and evolved in operations, migrated and evolved in a lot of things. And this is the same thing we're facing, but this time around, this is not just because of a meltdown or an economic crunch or global crunch. This is as a result of the pandemic. And people across the world are changing, and industries across the world are changing. All of a sudden, the way we do business and where we do and transact business has evolved. So you have more virtual meetings, you have more virtual meetings, more virtual events, you have more virtual sessions taking place. This is the reason why you need to understand that change definitely is coming, and change will affect you and I not just in a matter of weeks, in a matter of years as well. And so techniques must be acquired, skills must be acquired. Somebody said it's a mode. The mode of doing work must be acquired to position you out there as a personal assistant and an executive assistant for the work ahead of you. And so I'm going to start with a very major point, really. And one of the things that I would like to say is this. If you're going to be able to build on your techniques, build on skillfulness when it comes to going to do things, especially in your capacity of work, one thing that you must first understand is that there's a need for you and I to build charisma. And not just build charisma, get to the point of mastering building online charisma. And I'll explain what this means. Now we have a lot of people shouting and saying that, well, everybody's going online. True. Everybody's doing things online. Well, true. Things are no longer the same as you used to be. Very true. But you see something. It's not enough for us to transition into just going online. It's not enough for us to understand the power of the tools available to work effectively online. You see, if someone is not good in himself, if someone is crappy in himself, if someone has some buts and lacks in themselves, if they transition to online, they are taking the junk as well online. If you have a wrong kind of mentality, a poor level of communication, a kind of reason that is absurd, if you go online, what has just changed is your medium. Your medium is no more FaceTime alone. Your medium is no more physical interaction. Your medium has now transited into using technology platforms. But then technological platform does not totally eliminate your skill set. It doesn't totally eliminate your attitude. It doesn't eliminate your understanding how to work with people, how to work with superiors, how to work with colleagues. And so every personal assistant listening to me or executive assistant listening to me, this is the very first space that we need to spend some time to either work on ourselves, build on ourselves, or refresh ourselves for those who are already on the track of having some level of charisma. Why is charisma important? You might ask. What is the need for an executive assistant, by the way, to build online charisma? I will show you the reason I said that. And if you don't mind, I'll read it through the slide. And I want you to just listen to yourself. If you can, read along with me. Because sometimes they say, when you say something and you can hear it, it helps internalization, it helps integration. So you're not just staring at the screen, but you're reading it silently. And one thing I would like you to understand is that every executive assistant must seek to possess a compelling attraction, or better still, a compelling charm that can inspire, number one, acceptance. You might want to write that down. Number two, it should be able to guarantee persuasion. Number three, it should lead to influence, both online and offline. If you spend time to look at what I've been able to highlight, you find out that number one, what we mean by online charisma is when you have compelling attraction or charm that helps you to inspire acceptance, that helps you to influence online, and also guarantee or ensure persuasion. You see, a lot of times in your role as an executive assistant and a personal assistant, your feedback, your ideas, your input will be solicited by your superior. However, at the point of giving feedback, at the point of sharing ideas or making suggestions, you must understand that the lack or absence of charisma can puncture holes into your suggestions. Sometimes a lot of people wonder why their ideas do not get picked by their principal, by their leader, by their employer, by their bosses. It's because most times they say good things with no charisma. They share great ideas with no charisma. And so we need to understand, just like communication has been said to be made up of three things or three parts. Communication is made up of your words. Communication is made up of your tone. Communication is made up of your body language. Now, when you capture these three parts together, if you look at the measurement, your words just represent 7% of what you're communicating. So if you spend an hour, 30 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes speaking grammar, it all represents 7% of communication. But then 38% represents your tone, your tonality, your ability to say something and stress it, to land with the right tone, to make sure you make emphasis where you should make emphasis, and to make sure you actually pass on the word with the right kind of stress on the right kind of words. Your tonality makes up 38%, but overall, your body language makes up 55%. So Sometimes you are saying things when you are not even uttering a word. And as a personal assistant and an executive assistant, you need to understand that it's not just what we say that matters, but how we say what we say, when we say what we say, with the tone of how we say what we say, and in the timing of how we say what we say. Executive charisma, especially online charisma, is a basic tool, is a basic technique you must consistently master. Whether you're starting out as an emerging or aspiring executive assistant, or you're already established in the role, this is not new to you. It's just that because you are migrating into virtual assistant, it seems you need to be ready and you need to be groomed. But you need to understand, you cannot be effective without charisma. I hope we understand that. If I'm making sense and you have understanding of what I'm saying, just please give me a thumbs up, or just say I understand, so that I know that we're following. You just give me a thumbs up or say you understand. Yes, thank you, Becky, thank you. I think Becky will win an award for responding always as the first person. Thank you, understood. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Mba. Thank you, perfect, fantastic. I'm enjoying this. All right, so let's take it a step further if you don't mind. Now, if we're taking this a step further, one thing that you need to understand is that there's something that makes up a framework. Just in case somebody's asking in their mind, how can I build charisma? Or how can I build executive charisma? How can I build online charisma? Number one, you need to look the part. A lot of us need to understand that if we don't look appealing, it means we might end up becoming appalling. We must be able to ensure that we look the part. And looking the part means that you actually look the part, really. It talks about dressing, it talks about looks, it talks about, the context of your looks. And looking the part doesn't limit it to dressing itself. And I'll use an illustration. I'm sure you might have walked into an establishment or a bank or an hospitality business. For example, you might have walked into an event center or maybe a restaurant or an hotel. And you got in there and you notice that there's somebody that you're seeing, you think this person might just be the manager. Now, why did you say that? Sometimes there's no badge, there's no appellation that is ascribed to the person, but somehow you sense that due to this person's charisma, he represents leadership, he resonates authority, he commands air of influence, right? And that is because he's able to look the part. You need to understand that if you are enabling and assisting your superior, your employer, your bosses, what they represent must also reflect on you. So when you have yourself as the role of a personal assistant to the number one person in an organization or to a major person in an organization, you cannot look less. You cannot settle for less. Number two, you need to speak the part. A lot of people spend so much energy and invest so much time and resources in looking the part, but when they begin to speak, when we say speak, I mean audible, and I mean auditory, I mean people hearing you, but also not just people hearing you, but also speaking can actually be written, because in business communication, a lot of expression is written or verbal. You must be able to speak the part. Sometimes we need to learn how to use words in the right ways, when to use such words in the right ways. Then you must also begin to understand that it's not just looking the part, it's not just speaking the part, you must also sound the part. And again, I take you back to the parts of communication. Remember, words, tone, body language. A lot of us must begin to understand when you are sharing ideas, you must take it a step further to sell the ideas, because sometimes just to share the ideas might come with a weak undertone, might come with an uncertain undertone. But when you are selling an idea to your boss, you're selling an idea about how to go about a conference, about how to go about a meeting. Well, we're not saying you are meant to be aggressive or forceful, but you must sound sure. You must sound informed. You must sound the part. You must sound as an executive. Even though you are in the capacity of an assistant, that doesn't rob you of the position of being an executive. You need to understand that the person needs to be sure that listening to you or leaning on your voice or counsel must be leading them to the right direction. Now, the fourth thing you need to understand is if you're looking the part, you're speaking the part, you sound the part, you must also do the part. A personal assistant is one who does, is one who is in the business of doing. In fact, you are meant to be like the go-to guy. You are meant to be like the go-to lady. You are meant to be the go-to person. You know, it's just like by the turn of the neck, you're there. You anticipate and predictably profile your boss and what he requires, right? So please understand that everyone listening to me today, you must look the part, you must, sound the part, you must also do the part. And then don't stop there, you must think the part. Every executive assistant and personal assistant is also in the business of thinking. And when we say thinking, you must be proactive. Anticipate the needs of your boss before it's mentioned. That is how we see someone who is very, very, very forward thinking. Anticipate the demands of your superior before they make it known to you or make it public. You begin to anticipate, and you cannot anticipate without profiling the person, without studying the person's routine, without discovering the person's need, without identifying the person's pattern. All these and many more are things that help you to think the part. Think as an executive. It's almost like saying, what would my boss do? What should my boss do? If I were my boss and I'm confronted with this situation or scenario, what would I do? You see, a lot of people always are eager to learn. Tell me what to do. Show me the skills. Show me the tools at the expense of their being. We must understand that it is our being that will amplify the work of the tools. And if we don't get it right, we will always have these issues and these gaps where we begin to drop the ball in our area of execution. And of course, if you can get to the point where you are able to think the part, because you are doing the part, because you sound the part, because you speak the part, because you look the part, definitely you must be the part. No faking. You must be comfortable in your skin. You must be natural. You must show your identity and not lose your identity in the process of work, meaning that you must become. We are all in the process of becoming. You must become the part. These 6 steps are easy steps to ensure that you're able to answer the question hidden in your heart by saying, Mr. Itayo, how do I become one who has charisma online? Mindful of the fact that charisma is one of the charms that makes you connect with people's emotion before you communicate with people's heart and ears. So let's take it a step further. As a virtual assistant, one of the things that you understand as we transition into the new normal is this, that there is need for us to practice heavily what we call emotional intelligence. Now, if you were in a position to see your boss face to face, to see the one who you are an assistant to, face to face, there's a tendency that you are able to use what I shared with you earlier. By looking at the person's facial expression, you can know. By probably listening to the tone, you can know. But when it comes to virtual assistantship, when it comes to the work and the function of an assistant in the virtual space, most of the time, you might not be privileged to see the person's facial expression. You might not be able to interpret the person's mood at a glance. Therefore, it is expected that you must practice emotional intelligence. You must understand and seek to understand. You must practice consciousness, a very big deal of consciousness, so that even when you communicate as well, you are not misunderstood or misinterpreted. You see, I've seen a lot of situations where, because a lot of people are having Zoom sessions, and sometimes just when you're unmuting your mic and you're trying to ask questions or say something, there's a tendency that there's a gap in feedback, there's a delay, and it looks like you're not answering. And the person is wondering, why are you not answering? Because this is online real time. I can see your face, but I can't hear your voice. Is it that you want to answer? Is this disrespect? Is this disregard? Is this not paying attention? Is this not being present, spirit, soul, and body? Well, you see, it's because you need to understand that emotional intelligence is not just for physical interaction, it's also for the role of being a personal assistant or an executive assistant on an online platform. You would need to do this every time, every time, every time. And this is because once you are able to practice emotional intelligence, you are able to understand the feeling of your boss. Your boss might be pressed for time. He might not have enough time to say certain things. You might not have enough time to wait for certain things. So because of that, you are always thinking ahead and thinking on how to forge ahead to manage relationships so that you can accomplish a lot of things in this period and beyond the period. So I have on the screen there, if you can see the screen, it says, practicing emotional intelligence is required for all virtual assistants. And the reason is because a huge part of our work does not involve or engage seeing our employer or bosses physically. And so issues like facial expression, tone, body language become concerns both ways. You are trying to make out what the person is saying. You're also trying not to be misinterpreted when you are responding to things. So in these techniques that we need to have, I've shared some few steps. We've talked about building online charisma. We've talked about practicing heavily what we call emotional intelligence. Another aspect is understanding efficiency. A lot of people would have heard of efficiency before, but because this is interactive, I would not want to assume. I would like you, if you don't mind, once again, to just share with us what you consider efficiency in your own words. So as an individual, when you hear the word efficiency, what totally comes to mind? Let's see responses from everyone right now. So if you're there, please, I would like to, yes. Oh, Eukarya, you beat our first time response. So that's competence, I like that. Any other person, when you hear the word efficiency, what comes to mind? Dexterity, Mba is saying dexterity. What else, anybody? Anybody? When you hear the word competence, what comes to mind? Sunday Awoyemi says capacity, I love that. And then Tumbosu says doing things in a perfect way. Damilola is saying capability, awesome, perfect. And then I think Isi, I hope I'm getting the right name, but Isi, permit me to say, Isi saying organization. Becky finally has responded, ability to do things. Fumilola says orderliness. Vivian is saying proactive. Becky again says excellently carrying out your task. Awesome. Rosemary is saying capability. Oma says efficiencies are able to accomplish something within the least, with the least waste of time and effort. Awesome. And then of course we have Damilola saying being up to task, effectiveness, getting things done as at when due. And then Ademola says having capacity to resolve problems. And then we have finding the right way to do something in a quick manner. And then of course, Christiana is saying being productive. And let's just have two more and then we continue. And then we have Fonlala saying professionalism. I think we have Innocent. Thank you for joining. Innocent is saying quality output with time. Thank you so much for that, for those lovely responses. I'd like us to understand that understanding efficiency, especially when it comes to transitioning into a virtual session, space, transitioning into a virtual assistant, is very important because efficiency means a lot to many people. And one of the things I would like to take from our response is that efficiency has a lot to do with time. But before you do that, you need to understand that efficiency can be broken into three segments. When you understand efficiency, you need to understand it from the support that you give to your boss. Your boss is experiencing support from you as a virtual assistant. Your boss is experiencing support from you as a personal assistant. It requires efficiency. The support must be efficient. And you see, when you examine the things that you do and taking into your organization into perspective, I know we have religious organizations here, we have faith-based organizations here, we have schools here, we have banks here, and we have associations as well. We have manufacturing organizations here. So you need to take the context as your own reality and plug in that context to say, what support do I deliver to my boss? The support I deliver to my boss, I must be efficient in it. Efficiency must be in the support that you give to your boss. So your boss must be able to see and assess what you do as efficient. Number two, your delivery, how you do your work, your delivery, your execution, your methodology, your approach into executing the things that you do must be found as efficient. And then the third one is that you must always be efficient in the place of mastering time, which talks about time management. A lot of us, we need to understand that time management is better mastered in the absence of the time itself. So they normally say you want to manage time, you need to understand time is best mastered before it arrives. And so when we look at these three components, every assistant must ensure that is practicing what we call understanding efficiency through the support that it gives, meaning that efficiency is defined through support, is defined through his delivery, and obviously through the way he manages time. I hope you understand that, because really that will also help you to minimize possible gaps that totally exist when you look at some of these things. You understand? If you do things in the right way, you must understand that doing things in the right way should cut across the support that you give, should cut across your delivery of work, and of course, your mastering of time. So this takes me to a very important thing. In techniques for the new normal, you need to understand that from time to time, since this COVID-19 session started and this scenario started, every executive out there is being assessed. Whether you know it or you don't know it, an assessment is taking place. And your boss is actually assessing you along three lines. He's looking at what you do, he's looking at how you deliver, as whether it is great, whether it is bad, or whether it is average. It's either it gives a great impression and effect, it's either it gives a great impact and experience, or it gives a bad impact and experience. If I look at you, or if I was to ask your superior or your boss or your employer, how would you assess this person? How would you assess Becky? How would you assess Ido? How would you assess Innocent? Innocent is either going to be considered great, average, or bad. You know, Becky is going to be considered great, average, or bad. Tumboso is going to be considered great, average, or bad. Aisha is going to be considered great, average, or bad. Christiana is going to be considered great, average, or bad, regardless of where you work, regardless of the country you come from, regardless of the association you keep. Assessment takes place consistently. And the assessment is also a continuous thing. So for example, you might be assessed in the first week of May, and your assessment might come out as very great. Someone who did well when it comes to the discharge of your duties. But in the second week of May, you might be assessed as very, very, very bad, as very, very poor. Sometimes some people stay on the fence and they say, well, my assessment has always been an average. I'm not great, I'm not bad. But that's bad in itself. Why? Because average does not leave anything impressionable in you. Average just means you're just there. Average does not make you get into a place where you are praised, where you earn praise, where you are able to get to the point where you can get an accolade and tap on the back. Average in itself, if you were the one to assess yourself as average, I bet that your boss will say you're bad. Because most times we do not assess ourselves, right, in a high or strict standard. We assess ourselves most times in a 50-50 chance. Therefore, what it simply means is this, that you and I must understand that the techniques that we put to table, that we bring on board, is going to be assessed every time. The way you assess is going to also determine eventual overall path for your career growth and any possible thing outside that. I hope this is clear. Okay, so since we all understand that assessment takes place, then it is essential for you and I to take a step further to ask ourselves, what must we do to ensure that our capacity is at the right level constantly, which also talks about the tools of the new normal, the tools for the new normal. If you look at the screen now, you find out that we're talking about a lot of things. Now, executive and personal assistants must understand that there is a need to heavily depend on the use of technology for the new normal. You must research the tools and platforms to make your work, number one, a lot faster, a lot easier, and of course, a lot better. Your work must be faster, must be easier, and must be better. Why am I saying this? Well, there's some tools I'm going to share with you in this session, and I'm going to show you a video or two, but overall, you must be able to research and know what fits and works for you, especially based on the peculiarities of your own sector and field of work. Now, in the tools for the new normal, there are certain things that must be in place. Number one is the power of templates. Every executive assistant, let me give you a very good advice that you must not toy with, right? One of the things that you should always get yourself armed with, especially transitioning into a virtual assistant, you must have templates. In fact, think about what your boss does. Think about your boss, profile your boss in the past 19 or 24 months. What are the regular things that normally happen? Build the routine of your superior or boss and create templates out of that routine. Templates are things that are on the ready go, on good to go. You don't have to also rely on just templates online. You can create templates. So you know your boss is always sending letters to who, in what way. Create templates. So you just know that probably it's paragraphs that will just change, and probably the person that the letter is being addressed to. Templates for email responses. Store them so that when you need to do these things at the crunch hour, when you need to do it where you don't have enough time or luxury to start thinking or creating content, you just go back to your template. Your templates can come to your rescue. Your templates have capacity to build you into a position where you are always at the fingertips. I need something. Oh, Becky, I need something. Becky sent it. Ido, I need something. Ido sent it. And the person is wondering, how do you get to do these things? One of the secrets behind effective virtual assistants is that they always have armed themselves with a lot of templates. Goodwill message templates, birthday greeting templates, call for meeting templates, rescheduling templates, templates across the board. And just put them in folders, and just at a click of the finger, your job is done. Templates take off burden and stress over the executive assistant, and it makes you to appear as one who have cutting-edge solutions to the challenges of the person that you're an executive assistant to. Number two, you must have what we call task tracking tools. A lot of us, we need to understand that our role as virtual assistant will always involve every one of us, having some level of task, so, and our task would always require routine. So we must understand that for us to be effective and not have anything skip, you will begin to experience what you call task tracking. And task tracking keeps you keeps you focused, keeps you managing your work. Task tracking helps you to know what you should actually have, what you should actually do as a person, not just your to-do list, but who you should become while doing those things. What's your disposition while doing those things? That's what really task tracking does. And then, of course, in your tools for online for the new normal, you need to always have what you call online storage or online file storage space, because you'll be doing a lot of things. Your handheld device, your phone, your tabs, your desktop or your laptops will be your office space, even in a remote space. So you must ensure that you have enough storage options so that you can retrieve things. Oh, I forgot the hard drive at home. That should not limit you. There are many things you could do, and I will share with us step by step how this works. And as you ask your questions, please feel free to ask your questions. There's some of the questions we'll take totally at the end, and there's some we probably will interject and answer while we are having that. So somebody says here, how do you report your growth in the new normal, especially when there is an increase in overall productivity? Well, if I understand that question clearly, one of the things that you will discover is that a lot of people create a scorecard for them to be able to report their growth, right? And you benchmark your growth with your scorecard. So we want to see, number one, the completion of task. We want to see the timing of task. We want to see if you're able to break or set a record in trying to do the task. In trying to, in doing your task, you show your growth. If you're able to improve your process, were you able to improve processes? That's another way to report your growth. And when you report that, there are different tools or templates you can use. A lot of people say, well, there's increase in productivity, but most times productivity is not just measured by activity and time. Productivity is also measured by outcome and output. And I want you to understand they're not the same thing. The outcome is as a result of so many things that we've done. Oh, so we now have this, good. But what is, and that's the output. But when you talk about outcome, outcome is the result of your output, the impact created, the things you were able to save in the process, the things you were able to improve in the process, not just the things you were able to do or the number of things you were able to achieve. That's a way to treat that question. I hope that was answered, but I will still try and come back to that. Another question says, how does one manage a naturally highly difficult managing director, having done the best anyone could think of? Well, we wouldn't advise people to always say you've done the best. Most times, all you know is not all there is to know. And I believe that when you know better, you will do better. Sometimes the reason why a lot of people find it difficult in managing superiors, managing directors, managing employers, managing bosses, is because a lot of them have not spent time to study these individuals. As a virtual assistant or as an executive assistant or personal assistant, yours is to study. You need what we call intel. I'm sure you're familiar with CIA, you're familiar with FBI and those agencies. They do a lot with intelligence. I mean, if you've spent time to see movies, you'll see sometimes the personal assistant, they know the flavor of coffee, they know the flavor of milk, they know the quantity of sugar. They get to know details. They get to ensure that the bosses, before it gets into the office, they already know and plan the routine that way. So one of the things you need to understand is you need to seek for ways to connect with your boss's emotions, not just to communicate with your boss. You might have good communication skills, but it won't be effective if you don't communicate with your boss's emotion. Find the things that connect their heart. Once you have someone's heart, you have the pocket, you have the hand, you have the head, you have the mind. But you see, most times we seek to impress, we seek to meet up with their head at the expense of reaching their heart. These bosses have birthdays, these bosses have colors, these bosses have families, they have wives, they have anniversaries. These bosses, they have a lot of things, A lot of times you might need to explore areas where you connect with their heart first and begin to use that to now bring them. And in some cases, you yourself must begin to ask, is it that it's possible that my charisma does not match up to the degree of exposure and the demands of this person that I am an assistant to? A lot of times it might also be that we also have become too familiar with access to these people that it becomes a turnoff when we interact with them or when we relate with them. So we need to look at it from all those angles, and it will help us actually achieve a lot. Another question says, what can one do when your boss refuses to go digital? All he or she wants is traditional analog. Oh, well, that's the reason for this training. While this training might be introductory and not taking you to all the layers, but you need to understand that that is your role as an executive. That is your role as an assistant, to take your boss also to that journey. And sometimes a lot of people do not want to do things, not because they don't totally want to do things, but it's because they've not seen one individual or someone who will be able to take them through the process and take them at their pace. You see, many times we teach people, but we teach people at our space. We teach people at our pace. We teach people at our understanding. We need to get to a point and a reality where we must begin to inform them in bite size. You know, a lot of times we need to sell the benefits of going digital, not just the features. Oh, Ma, have you heard of Zoom? Zoom can do conference call. Zoom can do this. Well, those are things that talk about features. Some of these people might not use all the features of the platforms and gadgets available. But when you begin to sell the benefits, sometimes it brings about an attraction and interest from your superior. For example, if you notice that your boss spends an average of X hours a day, you can track it as a personal assistant. You've loaded credit, you've done units, you've seen, okay, Ma, I noticed that in a month you spend about $500 on phone calls. That's just an illustration. Okay, and then you bring it out and say, Ma, do you know that with free conference call, with WhatsApp call, with Zoom call, you can drop your costs drastically to $100 and save $400? And the person will be, wow, interesting. Tell me how. And then you now begin to take them. You see, we must bring these things to the point and the place where they understand and we speak their language, but then we train them on their terms. There's no one that doesn't want life to be easier and life to be better. But we must understand that it is our responsibility to transition them and sometimes break it into phases. You can turn it into a roadmap to say, okay, I have a 100-day plan where I can say in these 100 days, I would take my superior into, step-by-step immersion or migration into digital space, right? Sometimes you might have to do it for them. You might have to set it up on their gadget. You might have to send it through reports, because sometimes these things are appreciated through the place of use. These things are advanced through the place of use. So that's what really helps us. And let me just use the opportunity somebody says that even if the boss doesn't want to go to that, the assistant can. Oh, thank you. Larry said something. Larry, thank you very much for that. Even if your boss doesn't want to go digital, the assistant can start by keeping digital records to simplify repetitive tasks. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying it. Thank you, Larry, for that. Okay, so let's just take it a step further because of time. You would need to also look at some things. So I have on the screen right now 9 tech tools for virtual assistants or for virtual executive assistants or personal assistants. And I will run through some of them and I'll show you a video of one in particular. These are tools that you need to spend time to study privately and maneuver and play with it. See the one that fits you, your context, see the one that catches your interest and the one that is applicable to the task that you have. Most of the apps and tools here are absolutely free. Some have upgraded versions, but they are easy to use. Some are embedded in all already platforms that we have. So let me start with the first one. We have Google Calendar. Google Calendar is used for routine and task planning, and you can do that with your Gmail. You just have a Gmail account, and I believe that if you don't, it's not difficult to set up a Gmail account, but you can use the calendar, to do that. An interesting thing is that the Google Calendar is also an app. So you can actually go to Play Store and download the app on your Android phone, right? Just go to Play Store and type Google Calendar, and you will see how to download it. In fact, on the slides, you can see the app link. Once you click on it, you are able to, it's able to take you to the Play Store, and you are able to download. Very simple, easy to download, easy to use. You can plan your calendar. You can plan your boss's calendar using Google Calendar. Number 2 is called Google Keep. Google Keep. Now, Google Keep is also a very useful tool and a very good app. It is used to schedule notes, images, voice notes, tasks, and collaborate with teammates and also your superior. For example, if you don't want to use Zoom, you don't want to go on call, and you don't want to spend too much data, Google Keep is a very good tool to use. Now, I'm going to share with you the third one, and I'll respond to one question as well. There's something called Buffer, B-U-F-F-E-R, Buffer, B-U-F-F-E-R. It's a scheduling post manager. I'm sure some of you might be looking at also helping your superiors, if you're not doing that already, in managing their social media accounts across platforms. So they have LinkedIn, they have Instagram, they have Facebook, they have Twitter, and the likes. Now, Buffer can help you schedule posts across platform altogether. It does not require you going individually to each of the social media platforms. You can actually schedule posts, you can batch posts, you know, and it makes life easier for you. If you are managing and handling your superior's account, or you are managing your account or your association's account, Buffer is a very good tool that you can use. And it's easy to navigate. Once you click on the link, it takes you to the platform, and then on Play Store, you download. Then, of course, I think it was last year or so, Google improved the features of their Gmail. Now, Gmail also has what you call schedule emails ahead. You can do email schedule. So when you come up to your Gmail and you want to probably do something, you want to send a mail to your boss, or you know that you need to remind your boss on the hour by the hour, something like that. So to avoid the risk of connectivity, battery, power bank, to avoid the risk of forgetting or something coming up, or because we understand that everything is not certain in the world. So sometimes emergencies could come up. Sometimes someone could steal a device. Sometimes a device could get broken or something. You might need to look at the possibility of scheduling your emails. So imagine you say, okay, every 7 a.m., every 12 noon, and every 4 p.m., I must send a particular type of mail to my boss, but I don't want to wait till that time. You can type the mail, and when you want to send, click on the side of the button, and you will see the schedule. You can now state when. I'm going to demonstrate it after this. And you can now state when you want the email to go. Now, that also works the way you just send newsletters to people. That's a very good way to leverage. Then, of course, the fifth one is called Google Live Transcribe. Now, Google Live Transcribe is a very good tool. It's a speech-to-text dictating app, and it's also on Google Play Store. However, just to take your eye down to the 9th one, you need Google Voice Access to be able to train your voice so that your voice understands, your phone, so that it understands your voice prompt. Once it understands your voice prompt, it reduces the errors when you are using the Google Live Transcribe. So it understands your tone, it understands your words. In trying to set it up, you see how to get your voice activated. And then, of course, you can get to do things. So you probably have your boss who is trying to write a report, trying to come up with a paper or a presentation, or your boss is trying to write a book, some of the things that you're doing, or you're trying to respond on something, you can use this as well. You can teach your boss, or you can enable some of these devices and apps on your boss's gadgets so that they themselves can leverage on these things, and it reduces their worries and their headaches. Then another thing that I'd like you to know that is essential for virtual assistants is what I call the Google Newsfeed app. That Newsfeed app schedules to receive up-to-date industry, business trend, and all that. So when you have this app, which is also, it can be on desktop, it can be on your Android device as well. You know, your boss probably in the finance industry needs to know what's happening by the stock exchange, needs to know what's happening by the central bank, needs to know what's happening by businesses, so that it's not that you will have to always Google search and sometimes you don't know what to search. You can use the Google Newsfeed app so that you can easily get information that you can send to your boss just to get the person informed. You don't have to read the entire newspaper to be able to get information. You can actually have them in bite size. It also helps you to stay informed. And it's also something that you could also do to help your boss stay informed. Then the next one is Skedit or Skidit. And that Skidit is also a scheduled message or task for WhatsApp. So I'm going to show you the video on that, where you will see the world of Skedit and how you can easily navigate on that. Please understand, even though this is not necessarily a workshop for, drilling down, I would like you to spend time to explore each, because most times mastery is gotten from the place of how you use them. And then the eighth one is called Liveboard. Liveboard, I love Liveboard. It's good for strategy. It's good for, if you're doing things on the go. It's also it's very simple to download. You can scribble things you don't want to write. It works almost like PowerPoint online, and you can have voice notes, you can record. It's like it's a savior in many cases. So, and then finally you have the Google Voice Access, which I told you about. Now, all these are platforms that you can engage. Let me just take some questions. Okay, I think I have some questions here. Let me take some questions, and then we'll have that practical session. Okay, so I have a question from Fumilola. She's saying, quick question, please. In a case you forgot your superior's birthday, can you still send in a message? Yes, you can, but there's a way you treat something like that. So for example, I don't know how long. So for example, if your superior's birthday was yesterday, you can still send your superior a message, but you must ensure that you're not doing it for doing sake. You must also do it to come to a point where you restore or save yourself, for forgetting. And you need to factor your superior's personality in this situation. The words you choose to use, the medium with which you send it. Sometimes a personalized touch would actually make up for that. And then, of course, sometimes you're human, and it's better late than never. So try as much as possible to look for creative ways. And there's so many people coming up with creative ways, just to ensure that it makes up for anything that. I'm not asking you to always be in that state. Of course, with the tools I'm sharing now, you will be able to ensure that things are done appropriately. So Anonymous is saying, as trust is a social capital, and you do all that, and you do all that digital way for efficiency, but your boss who trusts nobody thinks you want to use that avenue to squander his or her funds. Okay, well, there are several questions or several things in the question you asked, Anonymous. One thing you need to understand is this, that you need to understand that there are two realities. There is the person of the assistant, there is the office of the assistant. There is the person of the personal assistant, there is the office of the personal assistant. Now, the office of the personal assistant drives the demand for the person of the assistant. And so when you look at the job role that you have, you must disable yourself of certain kind of mindset, thinking that nobody trusts you. And you must also understand that trust is something that you need to earn. And so one of the ways that you can improve and boost confidence is not just through request, but you need to maintain, just like we're having social distancing, you need to maintain the right distance, and you're not up in the face of your superior all the time. Ask questions and step things down so that the person understands you. Sometimes some of us were very, very pushy, and you need to understand what we call personality assessment. Assess the person's personality and earn that person's trust. Someone who is steady in nature, someone who is compliant in nature, they take their time to do research on you. So you must show that you're transparent. You must show figures. You must show data. For people like that, you must give feedback. You must give reports. If they tell you to do something, don't just do it and say it's done. Give them reports about how it was done and the state of work. And that's why some of the app I will show you, you will also see that they can help you earn trust and help you show transparency, And in some cases, you might need to get to a point where you will sit down and have a session with your superior and share your concerns as the case may be. Another question says, it's really overwhelming keeping up with a boss who is highly tech savvy and very engaging as I combine this with other projects with different teams internally. Kindly advise how to handle this. Well, Choma, you need to understand, you need to step up your game and also practice a lot of scheduling, you know. So when you have a boss that is tech savvy, right, you sometimes might need to come up with a project management approach to doing things. Have a to-do list or have a project timeline or work plan, and then everybody has their task. And in some cases, you know, once you agree on deliverable and ways of doing things, you are able to step down the pressure that it might be on you, and always try to do things ahead of time, you know. That way, it will help you to achieve a lot more in a shorter time. So let's just quickly look at this video. I'm going to play this video. It's a video that speaks about skid it. Let's spend time to look about it. Okay, so we're going to see that. I hope if you can hear the sound, please let me know. If you can hear the sound, do let me know. Okay, so I'm going to adjust the volume. I think it's a bit high. And then I'll start all over again. Can you hear? Okay, so you can't hear the sound. All right, I think I know what to do. I'll stop the slide share and then I would enable the audio as well. All right. So just hold on a bit and let's. I hope you can hear it now. Not yet. Okay, so I still see a lot of people saying they couldn't hear a thing. So let me just copy the link. Okay, so let me just copy the link. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me just get back to probably would realize is that there's need for us to always be mindful of that aspect as well. So basically, what I've been able to do through that video, probably at the end I'll try and check the settings and then we'll play it again. But then I've sent the links. It's just to make you understand that Skedit is a very good tool and simple to use, very easy to use. I decided to make sure that these things are not so difficult for people to engage in. And then we have what we call emerging tech trends, which talks about training readiness for the new normal. You need to understand as an individual that your goal and your job, right, is to ensure that you keep sharpening the sword, sharpening the edge, ensure that you always train yourself and improve. There are always there are always new things coming out, emerging tech trends. You need to become someone who is tech literate and media literate. There are three platforms you might also want to consider. There's one called Asana. Asana is a very good platform and it can help you work well with your superiors, especially those who are quite tech savvy, just like the question that I got. Slack is also a very good one. Slack is a very good tool that you can also explore. Monday.com also, I don't really use Monday.com, but it's also a very useful tool. Now, the reason why I separated this from the others, number one is because some of them are tied to some subscription. Two, you need to seek permission or maybe get to have a buy-in by the interface of your teammates or your superior. You know, sometimes you might be sure that you will need to be sure that they wouldn't mind using such platforms and interacting with you on those platforms. So that's what helps you with that. I think I would try to, let me try and show you Asana and then, okay, someone says I should demonstrate. Okay, let me try and demonstrate how you can schedule an email. So I would demonstrate. So can you all see my screen, by the way? Please let me know if you can see my screen. If you can see my screen, let me know. Can you see the screen now? So I'll start again. I'll start again by going to, so for example, when you're trying to schedule emails, you try to get to your maybe Google or Gmail account, and then get to Compose, click on Compose, and then maybe I'm sending a mail to myself. I'm not saying you should send to yourself, but probably you're sending to your superior. So imagine you're sending to Rotimi Eitayo at gmail.com, and then you click on the subject. Okay, conference call, or just pick a subject that is necessary, and then you type in the body of your message, and then you can say, hello, Mr. Eitayo. And then your body of your message, create a conclusion, sign off, and then you go to this part. I hope you can see there's a part where you naturally should have clicked on send. Let me just be sure that we are all paying attention. Are we together? Can you see my screen? I'm trying to, yes, you're with me. Thank you very much. You can see my screen. Thank you very much. Okay, I just wanted to be sure. So now you go to the send side. So on a normal day, if you're sending your email directly, you just click on send. However, if you want to schedule, you go to the arrow that says more send options. So when you click on the arrow, you will see the word schedule send, right? Meaning that you pick a time or you pick a frequency. So I can now say schedule. I can pick this morning, I can pick this afternoon, I can pick Monday morning. I can also get to a point to pick a date. So I can say, you know what? I want you to send this mail on the 10th of May, 10th being Sunday, and I want you to send it 5 a.m. And once you do that, you click schedule, and guess what? It says send schedule for Sunday, 5 a.m., 10th of May. And the truth about it is you can undo it. You can go back to your message, but it's just a way. So you can have, let's say you have 5 people you need to send some things to, but you don't want to do it one after the other. You can just say, you know what, let me send this thing straight, and you get the responses, and you don't sometimes need to wait till lastminute.com experiences where you know. All right, Becky, thank you for that. Wow, didn't know about that option. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. So there are so many things, and you know the reason we decided to make sure, and thanks to Bidan for this opportunity, is that you know sometimes there are things that we know, but we don't sometimes take advantage of, and there are some things that we have access to, but we don't even know the extent of access and the benefits that is there. So let me just take another step. Let me take another step to show you something else. I will show you, let's try to, so let's try Buffer now. I remember I told you that Buffer is a social media platform, and it's on the screen right now, that seeks to just help you. So all you just need to do is go to your taskbar and type www.buffer.com. And once you type buffer.com, boom, you're here. Now, I'm sure you've heard of social media marketers, you've heard of social media managers, you've heard of digital marketers. Some of the people who manage brands and manage platforms, they use platforms like this. So there's a 14-day free trial. You can cancel anytime. There's get started. It's a simpler social media tools for authentic engagement. And so as you scroll down, you see different companies that have used Buffer: Shopify, Huckberry, Food 52, The Steel, Borrow, Dress, Spotify, and the likes. And the interesting thing is, it's not just to schedule posts. You can mix match the tools. You can publish your content. I see it as it's a lot. You will love it once you start. In fact, sometimes you might all get addicted to buffer. You know, publish your content, and you see sometimes some people struggle with keeping in terms with reality, or staying in touch, because you're doing a lot of work for your superior. You can use this to ensure that you're not lacking in your own social media posts while you're doing the stuff you need to do. So you can publish your content, you can analyze your campaign, and you can use this for reports. Buffer has made sharing our story and building our brand on social media a lot more easier. So there are campaigns you can do. You can build Instagram community using Buffer, different things, Instagram tagging, story planner, shop grid, first come. See, there's a lot you can do with Buffer. All you just need to do is get to that platform and get signed up. It's free, at least for the first, and then you choose your plan. You can do a lot of things. Just, that's Buffer. Let me show you another. No, not this. So let's go to Slack. I told you about Slack. Slack is a very, very good tool. You can use Slack for your teams. You can use Slack, for several purposes, right? And Slack also has an app, and I normally, sometimes I use Slack with colleagues, with fellow trainers, fellow individuals. You can use it to master your work on a remote level. You can talk about using Slack at a distance, distant learning. So if you have to ask yourself, so the question is, why Slack? And then of course, it's also something you can sign in on. Slack, you can work with people. Slack can actually help you, do things and those who don't really have good project office strength, Slack is a very, very good tool. You can use to do video calls, messaging. You can do a lot on it. Workflow builder, you can change it in terms of calendar management. It can come in different chat flow. You can point things, and you can share it online real time, right? Then Asana. Asana is a very good platform. Like I said, you can use Asana to do a lot. Asana is also something you might need to find out from whoever you are going to be interfacing with. How do you work with them? Because most times, before we round off, I want you to understand, as a personal assistant, you need to, from time to time, do what we call periodic alignment meetings. You must just clock in and, have alignment meetings with your boss, especially because of this COVID-19 scenario or season, where a lot of people are not physically meeting. So you can actually come up with, alignment meeting, just so that you're updated and you're on point with what your superior needs and is doing. So when you look at Asana, this is my own. Let me just show you. This is my own. So on the left side, you have home, my task, inbox, portfolios, favorite, and then you can share with people. So you can look at your other side of your app, and you can see that it talks about upgrade, see all my tasks, invite your teammates and start collaborating. You can work together simultaneously, download the mobile app to manage project on the go. Let me just show you a sample, the ebook project. So you click on it, and then you pick your dates. You can select May, you can select June of the year 2020. You can go to timelines, and then you plan and manage your project timeline. You can go to board, and then you talk about how you want to publish. You can go to listings, and then you come up with your content layout. Okay, chapter creation, what should be in the chapter creation? And then what should be in your book title? And all these things, you can show, what's the progress of the work? And then what has been done, what has not been done, the forms to create. It can, help you collect the forms you need. It can help you create collation, and you can change your dynamics of your timetable, you know. So you can color, for example, here, color default, weekends of rules. You can add more fields, due dates, tag, priority. You can see layout, save layouts, you know. Go to your task, all tasks in one place, finish it. You can go to inbox. So basically, it's you need to explore all these things. So you have Slack, you have Asana, you have so many platforms. So basically, that's what helps you. So someone says, how can one assist their ability to accomplish a personal but not so urgent task that they keep moving? For example, preparing a will. Interesting. Remember, as an executive assistant and a personal assistant, there are some things that now let's use preparing a will, for example. You might do it in a very tactful manner, especially looking at how close you are with the person in question. You might help them in setting up meetings that prompt us to that. So for example, maybe this is the 5th month of the year and we're getting to the 6th month. So you can actually have a roadmap for the next 6 months of the year. So 6 months of the year, what are the critical checklists? You can just put it in a checklist and say, okay, what will form an agenda are things that are across the person's dimension of life. So you can say, oh, professional task, you can say societal, you can say communal, you can say relational, and then you now get to a point you can talk about the person and you put it as a bullet point, and the person sees that and says, oh, okay, for example, setting up a will. And those things sometimes would take you being a bit, strategic. But of course, you can also come up with some things that, you could just say, well, I just thought about that, statistics, or so percent of Africans do not write their will, or, things that come up with that, create a binder for it. And then you could just come up with that. If you were to write a will, what would be the major things that you would think about? Now, instead of the person answering that, the person will even think about it and say, to be truthful, I've not even written my will. Some people need someone who will help them collate and spearhead the process. And sometimes as an assistant, that might be what you might need to do. Getting the person to indirectly prepare a will before it becomes a will. So for example, you need to get to be a custodian of their assets, or to be able to get to know, okay, what are things that they have, put it in a neat way, what are things that they don't have, what are the properties, so all those things, helping them to ensure that things are in place. Property, there are filings for properties. Renewables, there are files for a subscription, there are files for accruals, investment, everything, shares. Once all those things are in place, then you cannot say, sir, what do we do to all these things? You want to come up with a document like, so those times are strategic opportunities you can use. In the world of the new normal, how can we manage pressure effectively from cross-functional reporting lines or other business units who are seeking the attention of an executive? Well, I think because of your role as a professional or personal executive, you need to understand that your alignment meetings will help you keep tabs. Number two, you need to be able to plan ahead, and because you are the personal assistant, you should actually be able to manage their timeline and calendar. Bookings and appointments should be managed by you, or at least you are able to know. So if you are privy to the journal or the calendar, and Calendly is also a very good app that you can use. Once you are able to manage their portfolio that way, you can ensure that your agenda is also, visited. And you must sometimes understand, in starting, you might have to keep late nights, you might have to keep late meetings, you might have to do early meetings. You must be ready to work around something before stability comes. And then on stability, you now build sequencing into it. So the person knows that with routine, I can do this. Oh, the person knows on Tuesdays, we do housekeeping. Housekeeping means we check on generally all things we do. On Wednesdays, we do business development. So that person begins to feel wired to perform in a particular way or not. Then somebody's asking, what do I align this app to my official mail? which of the app are you talking about? Well, some of these things that I've shown you, when you understand the workings of it, it helps you, and then you can now integrate into your office email. And if you are doing a sign up on a professional plan, premium plan, you can actually sign up with your office email. And when you are signing up with your office email, can help you achieve as much as possible. But remember, the tools are designed to enable you. They are not you. You must also have your own. That's why when we started with the fact that we all need to know how to work ourselves to deliver the demands of our job, so that the tools just beautify it. The tools will enable and it will also amplify. Enables your work and projects your work in the right way. And somebody said something that I can't see. The screen is minimized. I actually go to the options. You will see a place that says delay delivery. Okay. Thank you for that. So let me just spend time to show you one or two, and then we call it time for questioning. So let me go back to my slides. Right. So my slides. Yes. So I said Asana, Monday.com is there, Slack is there. And then we have the regular. So we have Zoom. Zoom, you all know Zoom, we're already on Zoom. Zoom has several features you can leverage on, and you can use Zoom to also help make sure that your principal, your superior also are tech savvy and also have the right kind of branding that they deserve. Then WhatsApp. WhatsApp now has increased its features. You can have an 8-way video for video calls on WhatsApp. Even Gmail has introduced a feature where you can do a video chat from your email. We have free conference call. It's an app. You can do pretty much everything Zoom can do on free conference call. Although the desktop enabled version gives you more room, like if you're hosting a conference or a webinar or an annual general meeting or so. But then of course it also works on your handheld device. Skype is a regular one that we are used to. And there's something called BeLive, www.BeLive, B-E-L-I-V-E. BeLive is a streaming platform that also records your meeting. It also helps you to customize it. So for example, the superior is meant to give a speech and you want it to look more professional. You don't want it to just look like someone held a camera phone, and you can use BeLive. BeLive is a very good app. I'm going to show you something around BeLive, and then StreamYard as well. You can sign up for StreamYard. StreamYard, you can broadcast, and you can do so many things with StreamYard as well. So all those things help, really. They help in ensuring that you as a virtual assistant, you know your job, you're doing your job, or you're doing it excellently well. And the touch of excellence really matters in most of these things that we're doing. I think someone is asking a question. Can these apps be used in our offices too? Absolutely, yes, they can. What are the costs of maintaining these apps? Most of the apps that I shared, especially the first 9, they're just they are your device. They don't cost you anything. But then sometimes they have higher features, so you can decide to upgrade. In upgrading, you choose your plan, and the information is there, so you can actually choose the plan that you desire. And then, of course, for the teams, like I said, things like Asana, Slack will work for teams perfectly. In fact, one of the things that will also work is for teams when you are having, depending on the use and depending on what you want to do, Liveboard will work, Liveboard will definitely work for you. So that also helps. Can these apps work in our offices? Yes, they can. Once you start trying it, you will see the usefulness of these apps. So we have StreamYard, we have Zoom, and then of course transitioning into the new normal, you need to be effective in your communication. You must have periodic alignment meetings. You must avoid what I call mismatch and equilibrium challenge. You need to balance the person of the PA to the office of the PA. You need to balance the person of the PA to the office of the executive assistant. The office has its demands, and you cannot be sentimental about it. You have to do it. Work is work. And then you need to understand that your person must fit into the demands. And then you must begin to establish the needs of your principal, right? In conclusion, I'll say that it's not what you know that really matters, but what you do with what you know. We've shared a lot today. We've said a lot today. We've demonstrated a lot today. And there's a lot we can do. But because of time, we might need to peg it here. Aside for the time for question and answer, you must make it a point of duty and a resolution of some sort where you decide to say, you know what? I will do something with what I know. Because a lot of times when you don't do anything with it, then it's not profitable to you. Knowing is different from doing. It's only when you do what you know that you cannot have what you can show. When you have what you can show, then it can generate what you should have. So ladies and gentlemen, from Nigeria and from East Africa and West Africa, wherever you are, I want you to do something. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share with you, to learn with you. Thank you for the opportunity to ask you questions. I hope I wasn't bugging you all. And thank you for the prompt answers, fantastic answers from my participants online. So I would be open to questions now. And I would like to say thank you once again.
Thank you, Mr. Itayo. Do we have any comments, questions? I'm just going to unmute you, Kyria. You put a comment in the Q&A, so maybe you'd like to say it instead. So Kyria, you have the floor. Please unmute your microphone. We can't hear you. Can you hear us, please?
I can hear you.
Okay. You left a comment in the question and answer session. So
honestly, yes. I didn't ask a question. It wasn't a question.
Yes, it was a comment.
To me for the training. I think I've really learned a lot today. So many things, honestly, things I've never known all these years of being a personal assistant. As in today just made a difference. As in, I'm so happy. I'm so happy, honestly. I really enjoyed the training.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Esther
much.
Oluwole. Esther, do you have a comment or a question? Please, if you have a question, please raise your hands and I would unmute your microphone. Okay, Idowu Ogunbisi, you have the floor. Priya Harry, you have the floor also. I can see your hands are up. Please make your comment or leave your questions.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for organizing. Thank you for the training. The training was quite successful. I wanted to ask a question. Is there any way that we can get slides from the training?
Well, sorry?
You
said, is there any way you can get the slides, right?
Yes, from the training.
Yes, we will be sending the slides to all participants.
Okay, thank you very much.
We will, and the recorded webinar also will be sent.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Songo.
Yeah.
Mr. Idowu Ogunbisi, you have your hands up. Do you want to unmute your microphone and speak, please?
Yeah, I want to ask concerning the tools that have been mentioned so far. Is it possible we get details on them? Maybe it could be sent to us via mail, or is it okay for us to check them via internet by ourselves? That's my question.
Very much for that question. The thing about the apps I shared, they are easy to access on Play Store. So if you have your Android phone, all you just need to do is to check Play Store and type in the names. In fact, by the time you get the link from the slides, you will be able to also download, but you don't even need to wait for the slides to download it. All you just need to do is type the app. But then also on Google, just type on your desktop. There are some that is just a sign up away. So Slack is a sign up away. The other ones at monday.com is a sign up away. You just check sign up away. Navigate on what you feel comfortable with and what works for your setting. Then adopt the one that you need.
Thank you, Mr. Itayo. We have some questions in the Q&A box. Could you please answer anonymous attendee?
Anonymous. Okay, so you spoke about connecting with the emotions of your boss. How do you make sure you don't cross the line with an emotionally needy boss while trying to do a great job? Well, when we say connect with your boss's emotion, we're not saying, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting involved. Connect is not necessarily saying you are getting involved. In other words, it means that, for example, you know that there are things that this person does, or there are things that this person likes, or there are ways this person does things. So because you understand, you are practicing consciousness with a lot of tact and intelligence, you begin to do things in such a way that you are not doing eye service, but you are visible enough to get the job done and to get a reward in getting the job done. So a lot of times, let me help you with this illustration. Take, for example, you have a friend that has a mouth odor, and you know that this odor is not something you're comfortable with, but the person is your friend. However, the subject matter is not something that is easy for you to just pass across. You can't tell the person what you want to say without connecting with the person. It's just like I'm meeting you for the first time. I need to connect with you before telling you what I'm here for. There's something called icebreaker. Icebreakers are used, especially in the place of training, to also connect first with the audience before the subject matter is being discussed. The same thing with your boss. Your boss is a human being and he has emotions, regardless of his temperament, regardless of his personality, regardless of his need. In fact, needy bosses, right, are easy to also work with, not to necessarily manipulate them, but you also understand that some people just want some act of understanding and service. So when you understand such people, you serve them well. When you understand such people, they are appreciative of it. And of course, you need to understand that at the place of work, we can be friendly, but we are not meant to be too familiar. And there are two different things. Being friendly and familiar, there are two different things. Access gives you opportunity to be friends, but access does not necessarily open you up to being familiar. And that's why most times, a lot of people get hurt in the process. Sometimes a lot of people step out of their boundary due to those things. So you must be able to know and practice what we call proper executive charisma, so that when the lines are becoming so thin and gray, you are able to make certain things back to default mode, and nobody's feeling offended and nobody's going to take it up as anything unnecessary. So you must understand that professionalism requires you to connect so that you can win them over, connect so that you can engage them, connect so that you can work in a collaborative way. But at the same time, don't be too familiar, know where to draw the line, and speak without being toxic. A lot of times, because you want to draw the line, you find out that a lot of people, just because they are justified in what they want to say, the method and the medium of saying it now takes them into a wrong. So two wrongs don't make it right. You must understand you can say something and not be toxic saying it. You can say something and not appear off while you're saying it. I don't know if that's able to answer that question from Anonymous, I guess. So should I answer the others as well?
Yes, please. If you have time, please answer.
Okay, let me just rush through. So do we have the same option of scheduling emails to be sent with Microsoft Outlook? Yes, you can actually do the same thing with Microsoft Outlook. Go to the option tab, select delay delivery, and you'll be able to do that. It's actually something you can navigate. How do you help a boss who does not really like disclosing most of his personal matters as an executive assistant? Well, you need to first understand that you need to draw the line on your brief. So there are executive assistants and there are still personal assistants, and there are different levels of access. Sometimes you need to win this access. I normally tell people that what to do is to set yourself. So for example, after this training, come up with like 100 days in office plan. So you're saying that from today, I'm going to come up with 100 days in office. I know it's most people are familiar with 100 days in office for political office holders, but you can actually track your time and say, in these 100 days, what will I achieve for my boss? What will I help for my boss? What will I help my boss to achieve? Or what will I help my boss to do? What will I help my boss to discover? What will I help my boss to improve upon? See, when you are able to count all these trophies, they become a measurement tool for you. So you're not just working by instruction, you are working by instruction and achievement. And in achieving these things, guess what happens? Your boss begins to like your person as opposed to just liking your work. You must understand that if you fail at the office of the executive assistant, you will not have a chance with the person of the office assistant. You must understand that if you fail at the office of the personal assistant, you will not have the chance for greater access for the person of the personal assistant. So the office must be on point and the office must deliver absolutely well. Also, another question says, in the case where we have to help our superior on social media apps, but they don't feel free to let you help, what do we do? So sometimes you might need to come up with the need to present to them. And like I said, sell the idea, don't just share the idea. Don't share the suggestion, sell the suggestion. So you need to show, you can get a video, for example, where the CEO of Apple makes presentation of their product development to their audience, and you show it. Steve Jobs did it. You show it. You can share videos of Google, the CEOs of Google, the co-founders of Google. You can share their video, how they make presentation. You can share the video of Jack Ma. You can share the video of Elon Musk. You can share the video of several CEOs of top Fortune 500 and big-time blue chip companies who are actually, active on social media. You can share Africans across East Africa, West Africa, CEOs that actually are active on social media. Even people who are not necessarily just business, but also in the politics space. There are many people who actually have social media handles, sometimes being handled by other people. And you show them with proof. Sometimes we say things, but we don't show proof. Show them with pictures. Do a PowerPoint presentation, or do it a PowerPoint on a WhatsApp or your phone, and do it as a presentation. Let them see chat and responses. Let them see why it is important and essential. And in some cases, your setup can be from simple to complex in approach. So some of them might just need a Facebook account, or some of them might just need a LinkedIn page where their profile is not there and they're not saying much. Some of them might just need an Instagram account where they're not necessarily going to be saying a lot on the gram, but they're just there to show that they are present. And once in a while, maybe they share Google message or monthly message, or show them the possibility through using things like newsletters, and let them see it. Send a newsletter to them through you and say, this is what will happen if it was coming directly from you, So those ways are opportunities to ensure that you get them off their cold feet. Please, can you take the answer? I lost communication. Someone says, I can't, okay.
I think that's all for now.
Okay.
I can see a question here that says, can we have this kind of training regularly? Yes, that's the intention. And after this session, we're going to be sending questionnaires. We'll please like to appeal that you fill the questionnaires. Let us know your training needs, because it's important as vegan for us not only to cater to the needs of the bank directors, but also to their personal assistants and executive assistants too. So yes, we would be looking at this sort of training. In fact, we're supposed to have this training one-on-one in April before the lockdown. So we decided to have it as a webinar instead. So definitely before the end of this year, if the lockdown is over and the virus is over, we'll definitely be contacting directors and telling them that we have trainings for their assistants. Mr. Itayo, is it okay to wrap up at this point?
Yes, I would like to just thank everyone for the engagement. I really enjoyed the interactive engagement. People answered questions, people asked questions, you know, the thumbs up and every other thing. So thank you so much, and just go out there and do something with all that you've heard today. And I'm sure that your outcome will be a lot more better than it used to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.